Hi, welcome to the lesson on the 1-4-5 chords for beginning ukulele. If you find this tutorial a little small and you want to enlarge it, look to the bottom right of your screen and you'll see some icons or squares, and you can click on those square icons to make your screen full size or bigger so you can see this better. Okay, you will not be needing your ukulele for this lesson, but I do recommend you taking some notes. This is a very basic introductory lesson on some music theory. If you have music theory knowledge, understanding already, you may probably skip this lesson. This is the very basic level to give an introduction to folks and novice players that have no experience whatsoever on the basic understanding of the 1-4-5 chords. Okay, so let's get started. You see here, it goes from the letters of the notes, goes from C to C. So we're in the key of C, and a majority of the songs that we played in the beginning of our music book were in the key of C. And I'll talk about that more in a second. Now, in this key of C, the pattern for the alphabets or the letters goes follows C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, and it follows a alphabetical system if you want to think of it that way. Keep in mind that after G, after the note or letter G, you have to come back to an A and start again. Every time you come to a G, you'll come back to an A and start again. So as you can see, if we start off with the C, D, E, F, G, you see that there's kind of a alphabetical system. And then when we come to the G, it starts again from the A, and we continue once again. A, B, C, and there you can see the alphabetical pattern. Now, once again, this is in the key of C, which is a lot of the songs in the beginning of our music book, which were played in the key of C. And I wrote some numbers on the top over here just to help you out so that you can understand when we start talking about the Roman numeral chords. I got a 1 for a C, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now that's just a number to give you an idea. It's not really to signify anything, it's just to give you like a bearing or a marker to understand what I'm about to talk about next. So we're going to use Roman numerals when we're talking about the 1-4-5 chords. And the Roman numerals we're using is 1, 4, and 5, or 5, 7. I'll talk about that in a second. Now you can see the C is in the 1 position, and that's why we're calling it the 1 chord. The F is in the 4 position, that's why we're calling it the 4 chord. These are all Roman numerals. And the 5, the G is in the 5 position, that's why it's 5. It's also known as a 5, excuse me, 5-7, but then you'd be calling it a G7. So if it's a G chord, it's going to be a 5. If it's a 5-7, it's going to be called a G7. Okay. Now once again, this is for the key of C. Okay. Different keys have different ways of numbering and naming the chord. But for the key of C, and we're all accustomed to understanding, and we've all played in the key of C. For instance, in your music book, Blue Tail Fly and on top of Old Smoky were 1-4-5 chords throughout the entire song. So in other words, these two songs over here, Blue Tail Fly and on top of Old Smoky, we're using C, F, and G7 throughout the entire song. So these chords are also known as your 1-4-5-7 chords. So the C chord will also be known as your 1 chord, your 4 chord is the F, and your 5-7 chord is the G7. So let me give you an example on how these names are being used. So in other words, if your music of any of these songs, the Blue Tail Fly or on top of Old Smoky, if you had no chords listed on your music sheet, you could easily play the chords by understanding the Roman numeral system and understanding what key you're playing in. So in other words, if you were provided with the key, which is the key of C, and then the song is going to consists of the 1, 4, and 5, 7 chords, you would know that the C chord, the F chord, and the G7 chords would be played in that song. Now this may be a little overwhelming at this point, but the main thing is that you understand that in the key of C, which were a lot of songs that we played, the 1, 4, 5, 7 chords are the C, F, and G7. 1 for C, 4 for F, 5, 7 for G7, and this is how we found them. Okay, 1 for C, 4 for F, 5, 7, or 5 for the G. Once again, if it's a G chord, it's going to be a 5. If it's a G7, it's going to be a 5, 7. Okay, that is the main thing that you should get out of this lesson. And if it's overwhelming, I suggest you listen to this tutorial several times, but if it's too overwhelming, just take it on faith, okay? So in your notes that you're writing down, you want to remember, in the key of C, C, F, and G7, 1 chord is C, 4 chord is F, G7 is the 5, 7 chord, okay? So I would suggest you doing this kind of as homework. Go back to your music, in your music book, go to the Blue Tail Fly and On Top of All Smoky, and every time you see a C chord in these two songs, you're going to write with a pencil, preferably a pencil. If you use a pen, be careful not to make any mistakes. So writing in pencil, every time you see a C chord, you're going to put a 1 either on the bottom of the C or on top of the C, signify that you're 1 chord. Every time you see an F in these songs, every time you see an F, you're going to put this Roman numeral 4 underneath the F or on top of the F, and same thing with G7. Every time you see G7 in these two songs, you're going to put a 5, 7 either on the bottom or the top, and that's just signifying to you that you have been introduced to the 1, 4, 5, 7 chords. Now, for this next two songs, you don't have to do this, but I just want to explain to you. Skip to My Lou, the song Skip to My Lou and Oh My Darling has 2 chords in it. And the 2 chords are the C chord, which is the 1 chord, and the G7, which is your 5, 7 chord. Okay. Now, you don't have to write in pencil the 1 and 5, 7 chord with these chords, C and G7, but if you do, it's only going to benefit you, but you don't have to if you don't want to. The main thing is that for these 2 songs right here, you do write in what was explained earlier. Okay, now, once again, this is just an introductory lesson to the very basic level for your 1, 4, 5 chords and the start of learning music theory. And as you go on or decide to go on to other courses, we're going to start to elaborate and build on this information so that your understanding is much more fuller. You have a broader perspective of the use of music theory, and it's very beneficial because understanding this is more like how people in the music arena communicate. Okay. Once again, I want to say to listen to this tutorial as many times as needed. In fact, I do suggest you watch this tutorial several times and try to get a fairly good understanding. If not, once again, you just want to remember that in the key of C, your C, F, and G7 are your 1, C for 1, F for 4, G7 for 5, 7. That's the main takeaway you want to take out of this lesson. Everything else, if you can grasp it, that's great. If you can't, once again, just go with the basics and the understanding. And if you need to memorize it, just memorize that. Once again, if you need to, please watch the tutorial several times. If you don't need to watch it anymore, or once you feel you're ready, we'll see you for the next lesson.